Hi, everybody. So we have our meeting with Gerrard now. Just wait for him to join the video. Let's see. I can see him, I think. Just wait for us to both be on it. Hi, everyone. Ooh. There we go. Ooh, think that's worked.
Hi.
Hey!
Hey!
How are
Gosh.
you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good. It's lovely to see you.
And you?
Um, so, everyone, this is Gerard. Gerard is an incredible dancer. You have had a wealth of experience performing with loads of different companies. It's kind of amazing, your CV. You've performed at the National, with the Royal Opera House, English National Opera, in The Lion King. You teach at Northampton University, you teach at RADA. So you've really done it all, and we're so excited to have you here sharing everything with us. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me, Keira.
Of course. So how have you been finding lockdown?
So it's been a real interesting time,
Yeah.
but it's been interesting in that I think because having been in the industry for quite a long time, being self-employed, I built up some sort of resilience or adaptability. So it's almost like the first few days were like, actually, I'm used to having periods of doing nothing and then
Yeah.
doing periods of go, 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 go. So it was a strange, at first, it was like, actually, it's okay. But day by day, it had this
Yeah.
whole, like,
Did you
mentally
find
and
with that mindset it took a few days for it to realize that a change had happened? Because there's some normality in being at home, being working for yourself anyway.
exactly. And I was thinking, why is everybody like launched on social media? And I realized like some people's have, of course, have been working for years doing 9 to 5 jobs. They have a really set routine. They know when the holidays are. They know where the children are. So I can imagine it was such a big shock to their system. So I think that's why it took me a while to actually go, the virus is real. This is happening. This is the new normal. And what do I do about that? That makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So in terms of being longer term on lockdown, how have you found ways to keep your artistry alive?
um, so like a usual day would be getting up. My body clock's a bit strange at the moment because sometimes I don't get to sleep till late because I'm quite a night owl anyway.
Yeah.
So usual would be getting up, having something like a smoothie, hydrating, taking my vitamins because I just realised that the more you can influence your immune system, the better for you. And then also putting into practice online classes or doing my own practice because I'm a yoga teacher as well. So I like
Yeah.
to either do yoga or maybe do a quick ballet bar or some sort of fitness cardio. And it will range from day to day. Like literally, I've just come back from the park because there's a park literally across the road from me.
Yeah.
Some yoga outside because there's actually some sun and it was warm.
Yeah, it's really warm today.
But then also knowing that you don't have to go, 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 because this is what
Yeah.
this has taught me as well. Actually, sometimes it's okay to be still,
Yes.
but not dwell. I think that's the difference.
That's a really nice difference you've drawn there. Being still and kind of feeling that positive lightweight with stillness versus dwelling and feeling like you're lost in that stillness. Have
Yeah.
you ever had moments when you feel like you might be on the dwelling side of it, and how do you pull yourself out of that into a more positive space?
Mindset. Yeah,
Mindset, yeah.
because I suppose because we don't know when we're coming out of lockdown and what the world would look like when that happens, and then
Yeah.
also in terms of art and what does that mean for me and the industry, what we look like. So
Yeah.
I realize sometimes I get things, it magnifies in my mind, and I then have to sort of bring it back to, okay, what are you doing today in this flat, in this hour? So I sort of have to condense, I suppose, it's still there, the stress, but make it smaller. Because I remember somebody telling me once about problems in life, don't make it a gorilla on your back, make it more of a chimpanzee or a monkey. So it's a smaller problem. You'll have
Say that again, don't make it a gorilla on your back, make it a monkey.
Yeah, a small or chimpanzee.
Ah.
So I quite like that.
Nice.
You kind of carry your problems or whatever you're dealing with, but don't try to magnify them so much. Try to distill them and make them smaller, more condensed.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, to take it day by day, moment by moment, really bringing yourself back to the present rather than letting the fear kind of get bigger and bigger and snowball. It's just to bring it down back to the here and now.
And also, because I know you want to stay aware of what's going on in the world, connected, but it's also knowing how many news reports can you listen to, how many articles on Facebook, Instagram, because I'm in my head a lot anyway, so I don't need any more help with that. So I try to maximize, like, okay, know what's going on, and then turn it off.
Yes.
And then have moments of like, okay, I understand, and people deal with things differently, and I know there's horrible things going on in the world as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to breathe and try to think how I can best deal with the situation at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's completely the same for me. I have to be very aware of how much I can take in and deal with and cope with without letting it completely stress me out or offset my day, while still being like informed about what's going on. It's a balance. Yeah. Something you said, sorry, go on.
I was also thinking about laughing more. So I've been trying to, even though, because I love Netflix, but like watching maybe some things that are more comedic. Just laughter is great for the soul.
Laughter is the best remedy.
Yeah. I interrupted you, sorry. Go on.
I was just going to say, you started off your day by, you start off by having a smoothie. So how important is it to make sure that we are nurturing ourselves in terms of what we input into our body? Obviously, it fits really well with being a performer, with movement, a dancer. How much of that how important is that in terms of maintaining your health and maintaining your craft?
I just think that almost like the car, the body's an engine, so you need to put the best fuel in it. Saying, okay, you have to go totally plant-based tomorrow and vegan, you know, they're positives. I'm just thinking about maybe not having McDonald's every day, or maybe making sure you have enough rest, water, vegetables, fruit, so you have a balanced way of existing and eating. And also I found, going along this food journey, to have, not to eradicate everything I love, but just find healthier substitutes. For instance, I loved milk chocolate for ages, but I'm trying to not eat as much dairy. So I'll have more dark chocolate, but I'll probably it will be mixed with something like dark chocolate and orange or mint. Sweetness, but it's not saying I can't have chocolate, but it's just finding alternatives. Like I have much bread. I mean, I have bread, but it's pitta, so it's got so much yeast and everything else in. So
so you don't start hating yourself for cutting out all these foods, so you can maintain it. Absolutely. I think that's if you're making a change in terms of diet, finding a way in which food still excites you and you don't feel like you're missing out, and instead switching it so it's an active choice. Oh, I'm choosing mint chocolate today. Like, that's a really positive thing. Makes it easier.
This is bad.
Yeah.
Because the more you tell the brain you don't want something, it will crave it more.
Yes.
So I was thinking about, and like crisps, I love crisps. I'm just thinking, actually, I'm going to have the oven baked crisp rather than the fried crisp.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that.
It's almost like tricking your brain or refiguring it. Yeah. Do you feel a big difference if you don't start your day kind of filling it with healthy things and starting it in a healthy way? Does it affect the rest of your day?
I just think it's almost like a ritual. Like I have my green tea and my smoothie, and then I start my day. So I think it's just putting healthy plans into place and rituals. And also, I do feel the difference. You can feel the difference slightly as well. I think especially if you're having, I don't know, something that's more greasy or more fat, you feel a little bit more lumpy and a bit harder to move.
Yeah.
That goes for performance as well, and loads of performers out there will know especially dancers, will know like, what do I need to fuel the performance, but not be too much so I feel too full and that I'm going to throw up. So I'm just
Right.
healthy. Like, do I have
Yeah.
something? Is that going to be enough, or do I have something with that soup? Do I have a? And it sounds really weird, but it's finding that balance for you and your body, because everybody's body's different.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's a different mindset from eating something just because it's going to satisfy your flavor and your taste buds during the meal, and thinking of food as something that's going to satisfy you for the next few hours in terms of how you're feeling. That's something I think I had a mindset shift about only very recently, maybe in the last couple of years, and realized, oh, actually, this really affects how I feel for quite a long time after I have this meal, and to get excited about the feeling food gives you rather than just that meal you're having. Yeah.
Good point.
So in terms of movement, do you have a set ritual of things you do? Obviously you teach yoga. So do you do that as a daily practice or just a few times a week, and how does it work best for you?
It shifts. Sometimes I go through a moment like I need to do it every day, and other times like I'm going to augment it with other like mat Pilates. There's so many things online you can just click on to. Like I've been doing this hip hop cardio fit, and then doing the ballet bar. So I quite like the fact of challenging the body in different ways, different patterns. Sometimes it might be very body conditioning. Sometimes it the great thing about yoga, it's mind and body as well, and breath. So it caters a lot.
Yes.
Thing. And again, it doesn't have to be like I have to do an hour and a half or 2 hours every day. You can be like, okay, today I'm doing 10 minutes, or I'm doing 20-minute practice, or I'm doing an hour and a half because I feel like I need that today. And so it's meeting yourself where you are basically when you wake up.
I think that's a really powerful message, because the idea of feeling like I must do an hour and a half and you're not feeling like it that day, and so you just think, oh, I won't today, and then that gets a week or 2 weeks. Whereas if you're just nice to yourself and say 10 minutes, you have a long streak of consistently working on something.
Exactly, and sometimes you find when you do your 10 minutes, you might push it anyway. You might go, actually, like, 5 minutes more, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think because as artists,
Oh no, Gerrard, you've left. Let's see if we can get him back. To see if there's any questions here while he rejoins. Ooh. Let's thought. Let's see if he is back. Gerrard.
hi.
Hey.
I'm back.
Just lost you there.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
I was just thinking as well as, because artists are generally quite perfectionist, especially dancers. Sometimes you can then reprimand yourself going, I really should have done an hour and a half practice and I didn't, and then it becomes a snowball and you don't do it and you feel worse about yourself. So I was just thinking and it's all musicians, actors, dancers, we all have that, we have to be perfect in every moment, and of course there's no such thing as perfection. So I think that thing of, okay, today I am not feeling great, I acknowledge that, I'm not going to do anything today, I'm just going to be with myself and still, and then tomorrow, all right, I might do a 10 minutes and then see how that feels.
Do you think that stillness of just being with your body and having a moment to really consciously put your mind to your body is really important as a performer?
I think it grounds you, and then it also connects you with your intuition.
Right.
So sometimes to listen to that small voice you have, it can connect you in that, because you can actually filter out all the noise that's around you, like connecting with your breath, being still, even if it's 5 minutes, just breathing and counting your breaths, or maybe looking out if you have nice windows or nice view, maybe looking at a tree, and that sounds really bizarre, or a candle, just like focusing your mind on one thing, one action that you need to, very mundane, but then that's what you need sometimes, 5 minutes, and it brings everything back to center and self.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a useful tool for actors as well, to connect with your intuition, to connect with the tools you have, which is your body and your breath. so that when you are working on text or working on a scene, practicing, you have all of yourself to play with, and it feels free and connected.
Yes.
So it's very, very useful, very good thing to do every day, and it's very simple.
It's like you have your techniques and your tools, and then in performance or rehearsal, you can then trusting yourself to let that go. You have the technique, and then you can play and be imaginative and explore.
Yes.
And I know
And it's hard.
Sorry.
No, I think that makes complete sense. I really do, because it's hard to have that trust if you don't connect with your body. And if you just take that moment to connect, it's like building up the relationship with yourself, and then you do trust yourself when it comes to performing or when you're in the rehearsal room with other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really like that trust. Yes. So, how would you describe your style of dance? So I've seen Gerrard perform. He is a phenomenal dancer, and it was such an eclectic mix. It was such a beautiful show, which you choreographed, and there was so much nuance and different styles and different characterization in it. And what do you think your style stems from?
I love moving generally, but my training is in contemporary. I think it's a great base just because it draws on so many genres. Like it's got strong ballet base, ground, floor work, and now so much fusion. They're dealing with circus and physical theatre and flamenco and katak, and it draws all different parts of the world together. It's just a great exploration, I think, of self, because it's inside out.
Right.
So my main practice is contemporary, but over my years I have done commercial dance forms. I've done stuff for fun. I've done keep fit, aerobics, pole dancing.
Wow.
I've done bits of capoeira only because I loved it, but it was because we were doing a special project. So I just think the more you move and you, what's the word? It's almost like a buffet.
Yes.
I think the dance is a buffet, and there's so many colours and textures and sensations that will fuel you.
Yeah.
And just try it out and see how you feel about that.
How does that build on your craft? How important is it to try different styles of dance?
I just think it gives you options, more opportunities and options. Especially, I don't know, maybe going in to do a project, you might have been fearful before, but because the director has given you some sort of task. Well, actually, I've done that in a crump class or in a voguing class. But even if you've done a little taster, you'll go, actually, I'm more familiar with that. And I think it leaves the body, gives it more exploration for the body as well. And the mind, because you're not so close. Actually, dance is one thing. Dance is, it's just moving. There's so many forms of movement, so why not use that in your craft as well?
How do different forms of dance affect you emotionally? Because there's so many different styles of dance you mentioned there, and they all have their own histories. And how does it make you connect with each history, or how does it affect your mood when you perform different styles?
Oh my God, that's a huge question.
Just laid that on you.
Mind blown.
Because I'm in the first scene of B, when you came out and in one foot, or you put on the heel a little bit into the first dance, and you had the half tracksuit on the other side, and that was your body moving in two different styles, two different cultures, two different forms of self. Yeah, exactly. So how does it, the different movements, to try them?
Different parts of myself. Because I always say I'm a mad Gemini, so there's two of me. So I just feel like actually I'm connecting to my grounded, my primal self, or maybe ethereal self in terms of ballet, or my cheeky fun self, or my sexy self. Yeah. And it's all me, it's all Gerrard. But I think accessing different forms of dance maybe gives you a wholeness to your repertoire.
That's
sweet. Think about it.
Yeah, love that.
That's a really good question. So I'm still processing the question. It's really good.
Well, because I find for me, even just listening to music and the different types of music I listen to will put me in a different mood, will bring out a different side of myself, like the different sides of Gerrard. And so when you're, and I think affect the way I move. Even it's slightly in life, you know, even if you're going out for a night out, the way you dance to different types of music changes.
So
It makes
And
you feel a different way.
and I know some artists I know will actually hype themselves up in whatever they'll go away in their in rehearsal space before pre-performance, have their headphones in, and they'll be challenging some music, which will help
Yeah.
their performance in the end.
Yes.
And that can be very different. You could be doing the same music, the same performance. Two different artists will be exploring different music because the way it channels them or invokes emotion.
Yeah.
Listen as well.
Yeah, it's super interesting. There's just like an automatic reaction to certain sounds and movements.
Yeah.
Something I found really, really interesting about your process is that you start from the movement and not from the music. Is that always the way that you have worked, and why is it that way that works for you?
I have done like, especially if there's a brief and there's somebody wants a certain bit of music, which is amazing because it challenges me and it asks my and there's no right or wrong way to choreograph. But for some reason, if I know what the theme is, I can then generate material, and then like a film, and I have the score. I find a filmic score or the right atmosphere, fear in the music, and then I'll put it over the top. And then maybe there might be counts or cues throughout the music. But I think it just, for me, this makes me more open. I don't have any
Interesting.
constraints
Yeah.
at that time. I don't know why that is. I just feel like I've got the brief. Sorry, I've got the theme or the exploring. Could be the red block box or something like that. But then I know I can go away and just look at those ideas within movement, and then I go, all right, I've got the movement now. I'm going to find the music to go to layer that or to juxtapose it or to lift it.
I think that's so interesting.
No, so some people are like, I would never do that. But for me, it seems to work.
Yeah.
It's not that I can't work with music, because I love that as well, because it's another challenge and sometimes you might need that. But for some reason, I think it's quite freeing for me to work.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And I'm not a choreographer or a dancer at all. So it's for me just not simply not knowing of another way, just assuming that it would be done one way. And I think it's so beautiful to hear of your own way of delving into it. And it's actually lovely that it does start from the movement rather than the sound. It's kind of something quite purist about starting from what does a movement do and what does it represent, which is really lovely.
And then also sometimes it was that I couldn't find the right music to go what was going on in my head. I was like, and then I was feeling stuck, and the more stuck I would feel, the more stuck I'd be in my body as well. So it was, I just like, let me generate, and then it will come along.
Yeah.
So manifesting music.
And doing, and then the doing creates action, creates something coming your way.
Exactly.
Awesome. So you have been teaching online as well?
Yeah, so, which is very interesting and strange. So I've been doing Zoom classes, so yoga classes. I've only done a few though, mostly being one-to-one. The lovely thing is, one of my first one was with an ex-student from University of Northampton and her mother, who's never done yoga before.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's just lovely having like a history with somebody and somebody new being brought into.
Yeah.
And
Two completely different energies.
Yeah. And it was so funny because they had a cat who, I don't think you like my voice. So the cat would be walking around, and then you basically put the space bar, touch the space bar with the paw to mute me. And I'm like, hang on. There was all those technical hitches, like, can you hear me? There's a glitch. And it's been fine. And every person's a little bit different, what they need, because sometimes you're only in a small space. So it's finding ways of tilting that laptop or it's just little moments. But it is lovely to connect with people in a different way, and some people might have not ever come to your classes might be able to then because it will be in a different geographical location. So that's the beauty, I think, of Zoom and those sort of online practices.
Absolutely. It's so interesting seeing the way that people are innovating to keep contact, communication, lessons, learning alive, and figuring out how the form of teaching changes via a virtual space as opposed to sharing the same space, because it's just adjusting and tweaking things to make sure it works.
And it also is making sure that your audio, your cues are well read as well, just because you haven't got the hands-on. So it makes you have to think about, actually, how can I deliver that movement or that alignment cue in a special way that's going to give them. You can't physically touch. So I think that's great. It's like honing your skills even more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kind of figuring out the verbal communication as opposed to the tactile.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
really interesting. And you said you've been doing some classes yourself. So hip hop, have you been doing mainly dance classes or a bit of yoga as well?
So it's been because before this lockdown anyway, I was a great believer in looking at YouTube and stuff and seeing what was there to add to my palette, my repertoire. But English National Ballet have been doing loads of classes online. So basically, the principal of English National Ballet has been in her kitchen, and she's a CEO as well. Artist director. Of the company. So she's been doing online classes most days, and then also the Dutch National Ballet have been doing that as well. So
what was the second one? Sorry,
the Dutch National Ballet. So,
oh wow, amazing.
So it's just been nice. So it's just that and they've been connecting loads of people around the world. It's nice just to do bar. Maybe you probably never do. Do you know what I mean? Go to a professional ballet company and do bar with the artist director.
Yeah,
like it's mad. And she's in a kitchen.
It is crazy, isn't it? Because things like that, you wouldn't have the opportunity to have a lesson by that person, and in such a distant but kind of personal setting. There's definitely been things that have come out. Pardon?
The good thing about it as well, because they're recorded and they're put up online, you can go back to them. Or
that's great.
Or you can rewind and go, I've missed that cue, let's go back and see what that is.
Yeah.
About them. So I think like you said, it's really useful, this virtual media.
Yes. How impactful do you think it will be in making lessons more accessible for people? Do you think people will carry on putting more content online?
Interesting. I think there'll be a shift, because there's nothing like being in a studio with bodies and feeling the energy and having space as well, because that's the other thing. It's because they always mention when you're online, like, if you have the space, you can do this. If not, there's this variation. Depends on where you live and what you've got access to. So I think that's also why I did it before the lockdown anyway. I was also searching stuff online just because of economics. Because sometimes, especially being a dancer, you can't always afford to go to classes, or you might want to cram something in and need to be somewhere else really quickly, but you would be able to go to one location and then go across London together. So if you can do something at home before you go out, it's quite but I think what you've said, I think there might be a move to incorporate Zoom even more, or the online virtual digital things.
Yeah, I think so. I've been watching a lot of theatre that's been streaming online, and looking in a lot of the comments, people saying, please, can you continue this? Because it's just making theatre accessible to people who either don't live in London or perhaps just can't get around London that easily. So can you keep this going? Yes, that is the other thing.
Because I noticed, I haven't watched any yet. National Theatre are doing lots.
Tonight, 12th night, every Thursday. Yeah, but they actually keep it up for a week, which is great. So if you miss it, you can catch it. Will be on there until the next show shows. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about, like, especially if you're not in London, but you have to travel to get to London, and then try to get a West End or a ticket, and then you might be with a family. So there's food, there's travel, there's all sorts.
Quickly builds up. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you want a good seat, there are ticket offers in London, but I think this has been coming in a sense of getting more online, more content, more shows online to people who aren't able to see it. So I think that's a real positive that has come out of the situation that we're currently in, which is a nice thing.
And also, maybe if you have a fear of going to a studio to take a dance class to lots of people, maybe it's a good stepping stone to first do it at home.
Yes.
I quite enjoy this, and let me see the next stage, maybe then going to...
Absolutely. I think that's such a great point. I think for actors who want to get into movement, movement is such an important part of the acting craft, and maybe don't put themselves or pitch themselves as dancers. Seeing a dance class might feel really intimidated. Should I, is it going to be professional dancers? Can I join in? and so to have that introduction kind of step up to doing some classes at home might be a nice segue into going to a dance class.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the fear is that people don't try new things.
Yes.
And we don't want that.
Because I think also the human mind has a way of exaggerating the fear with me as well. Like, so whenever I teach actors or singers, I think there's a fear like, oh my God, he's going to make me try to do pirouettes or splits, like the first thing ever or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's, like anything, it's a slow build and it's repetition and it's explaining the task or exercise you want from that person to do. So I think it is great having, like you said, having this one-to-one relationship on digital media.
Yeah.
Maybe go, actually, this isn't too bad, and then doing the next step.
Or, you know, if you're, well, I went to one of Gerrard's classes and I emailed you beforehand to say, hey, I'm not a dancer. Can I come along? And you were super nice and said yes. But it's worth just reaching out to people if you are afraid of stepping into something. And my mindset is, if I'm by far the worst person there, it's okay. I'm not holding anyone back. If we're learning a routine individually, I can just stand at the back and it's everyone's on their own different level of progress. And as soon as you kind of appreciate that, rather than comparing yourself to everyone else in the class, that's when you're open to learning, and that's when you're open to embarking on your own journey of growth.
It was great when you did that, actually, though, because it was like, oh, that's really cool that somebody is interested in, and then how can I find a way of incorporating all the different bodies, all the different experiences people have had in a class. And it's also good for the teacher because it pushes them in a different way, I think. And that's another reason why I went into teaching. Because somebody said, a mentor had years ago said about teaching makes your craft clearer in ways. And I was like, I sort of got it. I didn't realise till after I started teaching for years what he means, because people learn in different ways. It's like some people are maybe kinesthetic learners, visual learners, some people want count, rhythms, some people need a little bit more one-to-one, some people want to be challenged. And you have all these different energies, and you've got your own energy as well. So it's like, how do you best harness your teaching skills to then give it over to the person in front of you? So it's nice when you get feedback from people, or people inquiring, saying, actually, I'm coming from this place, can I come?
And it was such a warm environment as well. You know, I loved going to the class, and you really cultivated an environment where everyone was super friendly with each other and happy to work with each other, and confident in sharing ideas, which was really, really lovely.
Because I always want to make it like more holistic as well. Because I always assumed like the teacher knows everything, especially when I was first going to class and learning dance. I was like, teachers have their own thing going on, their own fears. So I like to think of class as an exchange. So exchange of energies and ideas and play, exploration, creativity, and restoring as well, restoration. So it's interesting what comes up, like you were saying, like some people are a little bit shy at first, and I love seeing the gradual what's the word I'm trying to think? Transition.
That change.
Throughout the class, because somebody might be at the back and a little bit more tentative, and by the end of the class, they're doing something they probably didn't think they'd be able to do. And just being there is a big move for some people, just actually getting out and saying yes to something. So it's nice when those exchanges happen.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about your classes at RADA? So these actors you're working with, and what do those lessons look like?
So it's termly. So I know the first time they do historical dance with another amazing teacher, Francesca. And then I've been there for 2 years, so it was after Christmas. We did like a 12-week term, and I'd have 2 classes on the Tuesday afternoon and have an hour and a half with them. So basically my what I call manifesto, I'd like to say, is how can I best imbue the actors with knowledge of contemporary dance in like 12 weeks.
Mm.
So I used to teach at the place an adult program. So I thought, actually, let me take some of the tools I've learned from there and give it to the RADA students. So I did like a couple of weeks, I broke it down into a couple of weeks each. So we looked at floor work and alignment and breathing and body conditioning. We also looked at centre practice. Almost people might think of it as more ballet, maybe. Tendus, pliés, being able to stand and being present, walk across the space, travelling in the space, moving in the space. Also looked at contact, work support, partnering, improvisation. And then we did, the last bit of the term was to look at choreography as well, and tasks, and how can you be stimulated by music or poetry or things with in the studio. And it's unfortunate because of the lockdown, they had to finish a week early. So literally, they were told, we went in the last day, and they were told actually this was the end of the course. So basically, they were rehearsing for their end of the year show. And certificate at the end. It's the end of the class. So it was beautiful that they were there, and it was nice to witness that. It was just
wow.
they didn't finish the course. I think they finished like all their work they had to do. But
Yeah.
To get back to the parents and the faculty.
Yeah. What was the energy like when
Because they
that
were
happened?
quite positive actually. Because I thought it'd be like really maudlin, but they were quite. I think it's power of dance as well and music.
Yeah.
I think they were because they hadn't hit them and they were together. And they're quite good groups anyway, positive groups. So I think it was just that actually let's finish this in a positive manner. And of course, when they were giving certificates, it was tears and hugs, and it was beautiful.
Wow.
It's like they've been for a long journey, as you know.
Yeah.
And opening yourself and being vulnerable in front of your peers, and they
Yes.
did the whole journey together. So I thought it was beautiful to witness.
Yeah. Special moment.
Special. Yeah, so that's my ethos really for like. So I always think with contemporary dance, some people are a little bit scared of it. So I just think actually there's a way in for you. So almost like a scattergun approach, like I give them little bits.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Of things, and they can go, actually, I really like contact work, or I really like the standing practice, or the more technical element of it, or I love rolling around the floor being improvising. So I just think there might be a way in for you in each of your packages, maybe.
It breaks it down as well, doesn't it? Rather than it being the big gorilla of contemporary dance, it's contact work or improvisation, and it's a smaller thing that's like, I connect with that.
Yeah.
And that's a part of the bigger picture of this contemporary dance. That's really lovely.
And hopefully, I think they started to realise, like, actually, if I'm strong in this part, it'll help me on this part. That's like, if I'm strong with my core, it'll help me with my standing or jumping or taking. So I think they start to see the relationship between the little segments. And also talking to them about going to auditions as well. Like, they're not expecting you to be Nuria or Margot Fontaine or Alvin Ailey or they want to see you. Of course, you need to have some coordination and being able to take the task on. But that's the beauty of dance. You want to see you and your story.
The personal, the self. Yeah.
Okay, not just...
What's the difference between teaching dancers and actors? Does it feel quite different?
Yeah. Lots of dancers probably hit me. But I just found when I teach actors, they come from, even though contemporary is inside out, they're more open to character, I suppose, because that's what they've been doing most of their training, is like character, self. So okay, this is like, I don't know, you're an old man trudging through the mud and you're stomping. They're that already, almost going back to your inner child. You know, when you teach children, you go, okay, you're a line hunter, they're a line hunter, you're a rocket, they're a rocket. Whereas as an adult, you're a bit removed from like, what the hell is this person asking to do? Strange, you're mad. But with acting, it's like the training stripping down and just going and acting. I think they're a little bit quicker in terms of that character fullness of dance, which I love.
Yeah.
I think it's going to sound, things have changed. Disclaimer, don't hate me, dancers. Sometimes I'm guilty of this as well. Sometimes you take on the shape a little bit more, the aesthetic.
Right.
You try to make it out inside out, but there's this aesthetic filter. Not saying it's a hard and fast rule. I've been very generalised, but that's what I found out in my experience.
Because I guess that for some of the actors I'm sure have done dance before, but for the ones who haven't, the technicality aspects stripped away from it. So maybe they don't have that much in their head as much. So there's more room to just fasten on to the emotional or character aspect of it.
Thank you. Can you translate that? Yeah, I think because you haven't got as much filter. I think that's children, they don't go actually. They should. I wouldn't have done it like that. They just go for it. Because I'm always enlightened when I see young people and they're making work and generating material with. It could be in small groups on their own, and they're so quick. And I think it's what you said. They haven't got that extra filter, the doubt and the insecurity, and like it should be like this, and I was trained and it should be like that, and.
It's amazing how powerful that is. I mean, it's obviously that comes from years of work, and it's because you've worked hard that you know how things should be done or how to do things. But it can also sometimes, if it's too strong, that voice really stop you from letting go.
Yes.
It's the same for acting, but acting technique as well.
Yeah. I don't want to dismiss technique at all. I'm not saying, I don't think it's coming across as that, but you're right. I think it can sometimes hinder a little bit. But yeah, it's having that balance again.
I think it's sort of an interesting thing about the arts. It is that balance of honing your craft, working on your craft, being disciplined and studying for it, but also remembering at its core, it is artistry and expression. So there is something wild about it in essence anyway. So it's getting that balance. Letting go. Yeah. Very
true.
I'm just going to quickly see if we have got any questions. Some thumbs up. Oh, someone asked, what's your day like?
So get up, body clock's a little bit weird. So getting up, it's usually some sort of fruity smoothie, a green tea, because I love tea, and then usually exercise, and that can range from doing some cardio, body con, ballet. So it might be a range, might be little bits of each. Then chilling, Netflixing. And I've been I realised the other day I wrote a poem, so I think I'm getting a little bit more creative as well.
Awesome.
Starts to flow again.
Yes, because you write a lot of poetry as well, don't you?
So it's always weird because I never call myself a poet just because I don't do it all the time. But I have an interest in poetry, so sometimes there'll be moments where it'll just go, actually, I need to get pen to paper. So I've written a response to the coronavirus. So one of my an ex-student I taught many years ago, she's gone into performance art and scenography and animation. So she's going to help animate my poem, which should be really interesting.
Amazing.
A week or so, a couple of weeks.
Oh, will that be on your Instagram?
Yeah, so she's big on Instagram.
So
I will put out a post for that.
Yes, we'll have to make sure to look out. It's Gerrard Martin Dance.
Yes.
Anyone wants to follow Gerrard and check that out.
Yes. And then also sometimes I do like singing lessons online as well, as in YouTube clips. Just because I think having the voice warm and ready is good anyway. And it's extra because I do like singing. I'm not a trained singer, but it has helped with some of my projects I've done. So I just thought, actually, let me work that muscle a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
I think it's quite linked actually, because when you're studying acting, and it can be acting, voice, movement, these three separate entities, and then when you think about it, actually you realize it's just one whole instrument, and the breath is so important with movement, and the breath is so important with the voice, and actually it all really is muscles being exercised.
So connected, yeah. It's with breath is everything. It's the starting point.
Yeah.
The inhale.
Yes.
So
No, I absolutely believe the same thing. I do breathing exercises every day, and it really centers you in terms of being mindful and sets you off for the day, but it's also for voice work and for connecting to text, connecting to your emotions. They're so tied together. So feeling that freedom of breath really makes it all a lot easier when acting.
because my partner's a singer, so he's been doing producing at home.
Yeah.
Now I recorded a couple of my poems. So he's been interesting because he's been helping me access parts of my voice. If I've had trouble linking a phrase, a sentence together, he'd be like, actually, let's go back to the breath, or go back to where is those pauses, full stops, which you probably have to do for acting as well. So that's been interesting as well.
Yeah. Is it quite similar when you break it down like that to dance and movement?
Yeah. So like sometimes there's a general picture, so sometimes I'll show people, okay, this is the phrase, and you can see shock horror. And I don't know to do that. It's like I'll never not break it down for you, just so you know where the ending is. What it looks like, the overview. So then I'll maybe do the first 4 counts or the first 8, and then we'll break it down, and then we'll build the phrase, and then we'll look it together, and then probably put music on, and then repeat it a few times, and then questions, because of course they're like, what are you doing on count 4, or what's that elbow thing you're doing, or I can't get off the floor. Is there any and it's just because maybe some people haven't seen something I was doing with a hand, or and like, oh, that's how I do it.
Yes.
So the same as acting, same as music, singing. It's just breaking it down into bite-sized chunks, and then repeating and threading it together, and making a transition so it doesn't become then too blocky.
Yeah.
So I always think the dance same is you don't want to be talking like that all the way through. There's a transition when you speak.
You have to find the flow.
And the dynamics, and the full
Yes.
and the pauses, and the enunciation, and the diction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's a key thing to take away from this, is if you are working on anything, be it voice, movement, acting, or any other art form, and you do feel overwhelmed at first, to break it down and find the different aspects that live within that larger thing, and work maybe first of all on the things that really connect with you, and then find the relation with the other things, and then work on letting go and letting that flow come.
Yes, exactly. Because I found like choreographing with some of the dancers I've used, of course they work in different ways, but some people like to know the essence of the movement, or is it connected to an image or a character, or is it something to do with a skeleton, different initiations of different body parts. I suppose it's the same as taking a script, taking a script and then and then doing almost like a mind map or spider web, saying actually, when was this, what's the period, how old is the character, what's the character hitting at this point, what's the arc, and then underlying things. And that's how sometimes I use poetry. I'll take a poem and then I'll underline dynamics or phrases, alliteration that I like, and then make movement out of it.
Yeah.
It's just, like you said, like bite-sized pieces, and then finding a thread within that.
Yeah. It's really fun as well, digging deeper into things and breaking it down. I think that's where, for me, a lot of excitement comes from things, when you start getting into it and finding all the little details and intricacies in something.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think we were talking the other day about actors who record audiobooks.
Yes.
So I was just doing a poem, was like, oh my god, the sheer stress of doing a book with all those characters, and finding different characters within that, because you're a narrator, but you also have the different characters and the nuances and the dynamics in the voice, and when you're feeling threatened or nervous or you're really happy, and you could change paragraph to paragraph.
Absolutely. You want to have, essentially, if it's a palette, you want to have all the colors available to you so you can express yourself in any way. And you want the stamina to keep on doing it for a long duration of time. So like any muscle, it just needs building and working on. And I think because we all speak perhaps people forget that that needs to be worked as well. It's like, well, I know how to talk, but when you're doing it specifically for something like that, it really is so, it's going to help you so much if you have worked on it and really put your consciousness to it, so that you are able to express yourself in the way that you want to.
And that's where breath comes in again.
Absolutely. Yes, underrated is breath. It's true though. It's true. I always talk about breath to students about really, start classes off by taking deep breaths and really connecting with that, because it's so invaluable to build up that mental relationship with it.
I'm like you as well. I usually, regardless if they're 5 years old or in their 60s, because I teach over 60s as well, we usually start in a yogic way or a grounding way, usually in a circle, and we'll find that breath, long inhales, long exhales, and then usually mobilization. So you're feeling good in the body, and because we all come into the studio in different ways.
Yes.
You might have a really happy day, or you might be feeling really bad that day, or really insecure or stressed. There might be a bit of a rehearsal that you're not looking forward to. So I just think we can all meet in this in a sense of communion, sharing that groundedness. I think it will hopefully then set you off into a good day.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's creating a new energy.
Yeah.
New intention.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thanks so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us, all of your experience and tips for just doing a bit of movement every day, having a healthy relationship with working on your craft so we can do it consistently. For people watching, subscribe. What's the word? Like Gerrard, follow him on Instagram. It's Gerrard Martin Dance.
Yeah.
And your website is also gerardmartindance.co.uk. com.com, sorry, gerardmartindance.com. And look out for the poem.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
And Facebook's also Gerrard Martin Dance, and then Twitter, if anyone uses Twitter, it's at GMD2012.
GMD 2012 for Twitter.
And also, I was thinking about one last tip. Like, even if you want to move, just fling on your favourite tune for 5 minutes, and just go like a netta in the mirror, or without the mirror.
Yes.
Just like you could be in your onesie, pajamas, whatever it is, and that you're still moving. It doesn't have to.
I'm gonna make that part of my daily practice. I think that's such a great tip.
Air guitar, and do clumping.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. Everyone. Bye.
Bye.